Right now, over 800 million people still live in extreme poverty. That is 800 million men, women, and children who wake up every morning unsure if they will eat today. It is 800 million dreams delayed, talents wasted, and potentials denied. But let's forget the number for a moment. Imagine a mother who walks miles just to find clean water for her children, a father who works from sunrise to sunset, yet still cannot afford a single meal a day, a child forced to trade school books for street corners because education has become a luxury. Every one of those 800 million has a name, a face, a dream. And every morning they wake up with the same question: will I survive today? Poverty is not just hunger, it is sickness without medicine. It is talent without opportunity. It is life without dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just mere statistic. This is neglect. These are human lives, and their suffering is a direct consequence of our collective inaction. And here is the truth we cannot ignore. When poverty rises, everything else collapses. Hunger spreads, disease multiplies, education declines, crimes grow, dreams die, every sustainable development goal weakens. But when we lift people out of poverty, everything changes. Children return to their classrooms, families can afford healthcare, communities grow stronger, economies become more productive, hope becomes possible. In the next 5 years, if we dare to prioritize no poverty, we are not just crossing a box on the SDG list, we are rewriting someone's future. We are choosing dignity over neglect, actions over excuses, humanity over indifference. SDG 1, no poverty. This is one of the oldest and most destructive injustices in human history that countries around the world have pledged to end. It was created because poverty is not just a lack of money, it is a lack of safety, dignity, opportunity, and hope. For millions, poverty means choosing between food and medicine, between sending a child to school or keeping them alive. By 2030, extreme poverty, defined as living on less than $3 a day, must no longer exist. Last summer, on the road from Casablanca to Marrakesh, we slowed down with my family near a small village on the outskirts of Setat. I saw a home, if you could even call it a home. 10 people lived inside four metal sheets held together by stones, walls of rusty steel sheets, a roof patched with plastic bags, and old blankets. When the wind blew, the whole structure shook as if it might collapse at any moment. At that moment, I realized, how can we talk about digital transformation or innovation when there are still people who live in tiny still houses who are non-livable? If we imagine the 17 sustainable goal as a tree, then poverty is the root, not the leaves, not the branches, but the very base from which everything grows. And just like a real tree, if the root is weakened, poisoned, or deprived of nourishment, nothing above it can survive. A tree with the dying roots cannot produce fruit. It cannot grow. It simply collapses. From this root grow many branches, each representing a major global challenge that cannot be solved while poverty remains. Branch 1, zero hunger. Poverty reduces income, and without income, families cannot reliably afford food. When food becomes unaffordable, meals are skipped and nutrition declines, leading to chronic hunger and malnutrition. Nearly 800 million people living on less than around $3 a day face this reality daily. Because hunger is caused by lack of economic access to food, it cannot be solved through food production alone. Therefore, ending poverty becomes the most direct and effective way to end hunger. Branch 2, good health and well-being. Poverty limits access to basic necessities such as water, clean water, sanitation, and health care. Without these, preventable diseases spread and minor illnesses become life-threatening. Over 1.2 billion people live in multidimensional poverty, meaning poor health is not a coincidence but a structural outcome of poverty. When people are lifted out of poverty, they can afford medical care, live in safer environments, and take preventable health measures. As a result, improving health outcomes depends first on reducing poverty. Branch 3, equality education, decent work, and economic growth. Poverty forces families to prioritize survival over education. When schools' fees, books, or transportation are unaffordable, children are withdrawn from school and pushed into work. This lack of education leads to low skilled labor, unstable employments, and low wages in adulthood. Economies then suffer from low productivity and slow growth. By reducing poverty, children stay in school, gain skills, and become productive workers, proving that education and economic growth are built on poverty reduction. Branch 4, reduced inequalities. Poverty determines access to opportunity. When income is low, access to quality education, healthcare, and employment is restricted. While wealthier groups continue to accumulate advantages, this creates persistent social and economic inequalities. By ending poverty, access to essential services expands and social mobility increases, allowing talent and effort, not birth circumstances, to shape outcomes. Therefore, reducing inequality requires tackling poverty at its source. All these connections show one clear truth. Ending poverty is not an option. It is the first step towards achieving health, education, economic growth, and equality for everyone. But governments cannot solve this alone. We all have a role to play by supporting initiatives, raising awareness, and demanding action. We can lift millions out of poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not be remembered as the generation that looked away. Let us be the generation that chose compassion, equity, and justice. Let us be the generation that said no more, not on our watch.